Beginning in March of this year, I took on the massive challenge of summarizing and analyzing the Marathon ARG from 2023. This alternate reality game was delivered through a series of websites, hidden texts, images, and videos that were uncovered after the release of the announcement trailer for the Marathon extraction shooter reboot game. The totality of the information that we received from this ARG was amazing to me, and I really wanted to cover it with a level of depth that gave credit to the individuals who wrote it. The information in this ARG not only recontextualized a lot of the narrative points from the original series, but also set up a whole bunch of new plot threads that we are surely going to uncover in the upcoming game. My fascination with this topic led me to yapping about it on YouTube for about 5 hours, and it's probably best represented by the conspiracy meme from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. But due to the extensive nature of this project and the scope that I was trying to achieve, I was sure to miss something and want to come back to it later, and that's what has occurred today. More specifically, this topic that I want to take another look at comes from my analysis of the information we learned about the UESC. The Unified Earth Space Council is the government entity which had led the original Marathon mission to establish a colony in the Tau Ceti star system. Now, in my video covering the UESC information that we learned from the ARG, I spend upwards of 10 minutes discussing every little thing, that is, documents, videos, letters, memoranda. But in my infinite wisdom, for some reason I only dedicated about 30 seconds to talking about the Equanimity captain's letter. Now, Project Goliath is the new mission that the UESC is setting up to send the ship, the Equanimity, to investigate the colony that we lost contact with in Tau Ceti, the events of the original game. Now, the letter in question is from the commander, Bethany R. Montenegro Sankara, the apparent leader of the Equanimity ship. And it is addressed to all of the individuals who are going to be on board that ship. Unfortunately, my initial summary may have been lacking a bit. Here, I'm going to play it for you so you guys understand. It reads rather plainly as a hoorah morale builder from a commander that clarifies the dangerous nature of their mission and the many variables that are unaccounted for.
That's no good.
Now, after some time, I've recontextualized some of the information here, and I think there's something interesting to be gleaned specifically from this letter. With that in mind, I'm first going to read through it in its entirety so you guys have a full comprehension of the material. 19 July 2797. Brave souls, while we hope that upon arrival at Tau Ceti we will find New Cascadia vibrant and thriving, there is a possibility that whatever caused the disruption in communication also forced them to abandon the primary colonization target and move on to one of the candidates from the list Icarus, surely compiled during the known duration of their time in the Tau Ceti system. Unfortunately, neither Arthur nor colony leadership ever supplied us with such a list. It is possible, however, that data pertaining to possible secondary colonization targets may be found at New Cascadia. We may have lost communication before Project Marathon was scheduled to proceed to the second phase, but that doesn't mean that they could not have moved up their timetable, if Tau Ceti 4 proved to be unsuitable for any reason. Then proceeding to that second phase would have been their most logical course of action. No matter what condition we find New Cascadia in, it is our duty to give aid in whatever way we can, even if that only means investigating how it failed. Regardless, in all likelihood, there will be many permanent and semi-permanent assets, structural and otherwise, that will need to be assessed and cataloged no matter what state the colony is in. We must be as accommodating as protocol allows. We may be separated by 12 light years and 4 centuries, but this is still a UESC mission, and everything attached to it should still be considered UESC property. Best regards, Commander Bethany R. Montenegro Sankara, Unified Earth Space Security Council. Now, this letter does a few things that, upon another reading, I found interesting. Firstly, it establishes the tension that we're going to see between the UESC and Traxxas nearly 100 years prior to those events, as the UESC views the colony and everything found within it as their property. Secondly, it established somebody who may be a primary character of interest with Commander Sankara. Unlike many of the other named characters that we get to see within the ARG, we know that this individual is on a ship en route to Tau Ceti, where the next game is going to take place. This would lead me to believe that in-game, this might be the talking head or face of the UESC, as she is the commander over the operations that are going to be occurring outside of Seoul. And lastly, this letter provides us with the names Icarus and Arthur. Icarus is identified as being responsible for identifying colonization targets or other places that the Marathon could travel to establish the colony should things fail in Tau Ceti. Sankara then states that Arthur nor colony leadership ever supplied us with such a list. Now, we could speculate that that would mean Arthur is responsible for communication. With this in mind, it seems evident to me that Icarus and Arthur are two of the colony AI that we see from the Strauss letter. And funny enough, within that letter, there is an AI identified as AR and another AI identified as IC. AR, or Arthur, is described as being a benevolent autocrat, a no-nonsense problem solver who's a classic patriarchal authority figure. This description kind of aligns perfectly with the type of personality traits you would want with an entity that's in charge of communications, something that is very important when you're multiple light years away from your home planet. Icarus, on the other hand, or IC, is described as being motivated, assertive, proactive, and will need to keep isolated from Tycho or establish hierarchy at outset, inform the science and engineering crew of the situation. And if the duty of Icarus was to scan the infinite depths of space for other colonization targets, then you would need a personality that is motivated and will assert themselves to determine the best possible location, despite what they may find, that being alien life or something else that's in the way. This could also explain why there's seemingly some tension between Icarus and Tycho, as Tycho's job on board the Marathon is to control scientific operations, while that appears to be Icarus's job planetside at the colony. The hierarchy that they talk about would be needed because there would have to be a clear delineation between what is something under the purview of Tycho in terms of scientific research and Icarus. This subtle information builds out the characteristics that we could potentially see in these interactable characters, that being the AI that we're assumingly going to run into at Tau Ceti. Even with just this small amount of additional information, it kind of recontextualizes some things that we've seen. For example, the IRL art piece that we saw in Venice Beach that was put up by Maida had one side that depicted a bunch of eyes that I theorized could represent the 8 colony AI that we would encounter in game. Now, I don't see a particular candidate for Arthur with this new information, but just below the primary red eye that we see at the top and to the right, we see an eye that has these lines coming out from the bottom of it, fanning. To me, these lines specific to this particular rendition of the eyes that we see seem to play more into the all-seeing eye trope, that it's viewing a great distance out into possibly space, like how Icarus is looking for other possible colonization targets with probably an advanced satellite array. You could go even further and speculate that the lackadaisical eyelid gives this air of scientific superiority and portrays a focus that is less worried about the emotional aspects of the probable rampancy that some of these AI may be experiencing. Given the incredible depth of the ARG and the Marathon universe as a whole, I can only assume that there's going to be additional factors like this that I come back to with a newfound perspective. And I can assure you that when I find these newfound perspectives, I will share them all with you. The ARG continues to excite me, and I'm incredibly interested to see where the narrative team at Bungie goes with Marathon moving forward. I hope that you guys enjoyed this, and if there's anything else that I missed in the ARG that you're aware of, please consider sharing it in the comments below so I can take another look at it. Well, everybody, thanks for watching. Bye.